Guys, and welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I'm going to be doing a tier list of the best and worst chins in the UFC. There are those with the granite chins, there are those with the glass jaws, and there's a sort of spectrum in between that of people who have decent or bad or awful or great chins, and I'm going to be talking about a bunch of them in today's video. This will not include every single fucking fighter on the roster, so if someone's like, why do you not have this guy in S tier? It's because I have fucking limited placements and I can't just put the whole roster on the tier list. So I've gotten the ones who I think best sort of represent the different tiers. Now obviously there's going to be people in the same tiers that you would say one clearly has a better chin, but overall it's pretty broad. But at the end of the day, it's a rough ranking of who has the best chin in the UFC and a tier list of that nature. So yeah, let's get into the video, and starting off with someone who has a granite chin in the top tier. Going to start off with Alejandro Pantoja, the main event of the weekend, or this weekend I should say, the fighter defending their belt, the only title fight on the card, and I think one of the best chins in the UFC right now. Look, is this guy going to go down as like a fucking top 10 chin of all time when he hangs it up? No, probably not. But I think right now, I don't think it's unreasonable to say this dude has a granite chin. Now, maybe that ages badly and he gets slept this weekend, and then he gets bumped down a spot. But I think right now, with what we've seen from him, and like only one knockdown, he got rocked a bit by Matt Schnell, but Schnell actually does have a bit of pop though, to be fair. But apart from that, that was earlier in his career, and Figgy dropped him, but Figgy was absolutely fucking hammering him, and he wasn't going down to pretty much all of those shots and still didn't get finished in that fight. Never been finished, hasn't been knocked down since the Figgy fight, and that was his only knockdown. So I think this dude's chin is fucking granite. The shots he took off Erceg, shots he took off Royval, Moreno, these kind of guys, he takes fucking punishment and he's just fine. It's weird, and I'm worried that he's going to randomly get chinned at some point. Maybe it's not this weekend, but I do think we will see a Pantoja chinning later on in his career when you just can't take the punishment for that long. But right now, with how many big fucking shots this dude's taken, I think it's safe to say he's got one of the better chins in the sport right now. And in an age of fighters who have granite chins getting dropped and chinned, we haven't seen it with Pantoja yet. So we'll see if that happens this weekend or maybe in the near future. But for now, I'm going to put him in the S tier. Anyway, let's move on though to another fighter. Next up, I'm going to go with Jiří Procházka, and I'm going to put him in the iron chin tier. You could call it the A tier as well. I do think despite the losses to Pereira, I still think this guy's chin is pretty granite, and if we're taking away the Pereira loss, we haven't seen this guy put away in the UFC. Obviously, he got KO'd back in the day. But Pereira's the only guy to drop him, I believe. Did he get dropped by anyone else? I don't think so. Rakic didn't drop him. Glover rocked him. But again, he's taking massive shots and just, like, he's getting rocked. But he's not getting dropped. He hasn't been flatlined by, like, punches from anyone else apart from Pereira. And he fucking ran into a left hook of Pereira. So maybe I should put him a tier lower. I'm not sure. But in my opinion, Jiří still has one of the better chins in the sport. But that might be gone. Like, maybe I should have done a chin for, like, a tier for, like, chins that have been cracked. And, like, the Jiřys of the world or even the Holloways of the world could go in there. But I don't think it's fair, even with Holloway, to put him lower down because he got KO'd by Ilya. Just like I don't think it's fair to put Jiří lower down because he got KO'd by Pereira. Like, those are two of the hardest hitters in the sport. So I'm not going to give him too much fault for it. But if he gets KO'd by Jamal Hill, then he will definitely move down a spot. Anyway, let's move on though to another fighter. Next up, we got Alex Poatan Pereira. I'm going to put him in the good chin tier because he has been KO'd and we have seen him sort of rocked before in fights. So I don't think you can say he's got a granite chin. I think his chin up at light heavyweight is much better. But still, I don't think you could say... You could have an argument to say, like, yeah, he has an iron chin, because, yes, he did KO Jiří and didn't get hurt as much by Jiří as Jiří did by him, but I think that's more just Pereira being better than Jiří, not so much having a better chin. But yeah, Izzy did put him out, which is not a great look, but up at light heavy, he hasn't taken too many shots badly. Khalil did kind of have him a bit hurt at moments, but apart from that, we haven't really seen Pereira in too much trouble. So if you want to have him a tier higher, I don't mind that take, but I'll put him here for now. Anyway, let's move on though to another fighter. The next fighter to talk about, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I'm going to put him in the bit sus tier. The chin is a little bit sus at this stage. Like, yes, he took a massive shot from Buckley, but I don't know if you should be getting KO'd out cold by a fucking Superman punch from Anthony Pettis. Like, yeah, it was a perfect shot, but I've always kind of thought Wonderboy's chin was a bit sus. Holland rocked him. Not saying that's too bad, and he doesn't get rocked often because most of the time his defense is so good. But when he does get cracked clean, you know, Woodley, I think Till dropped him as well. When he does get cracked clean, the chin doesn't hold up too well for Wonderboy. So at this stage of his career, at like 41 years of age, I do think his chin is a little bit sus, to be honest. Anyway, let's move on though to another fighter. Next up, we have Johnny Walker, glass jaw. Johnny Walker is well known to have one of the worst chins in the sport. He's getting KO'd left, right, and center. Volkan Ozdemir is not exactly a power puncher. Magomed Ankalaev is not exactly a one-hitter quitter kind of guy. And these guys are laying out Johnny Walker. It's not like he's getting KO'd by fucking Alistair Overeem and fucking Dan Henderson and I don't know, all these power punches from the past or something. He's not getting slept out cold by like guys who are also sleeping everyone else out cold. Like, Ozdemir isn't getting that. When's Ozdemir's other finish? He finished Gushkov, he heard him first and then subbed him, but like, the last time we thought Ozdemir was a fucking power puncher was before he even fought DC. And even, who else did he get KO'd by? Fucking Ankalaev. If you're on Ion Kutalaba level if you're getting KO'd by Magomed Ankalaev. So yeah, Johnny Walker, glass jaw. We saw that video of him getting slept by some fucking 19-year-old like welterweight boxer or some shit. Like, this dude has no chin. I think Gushkov's gonna fucking sleep him. Anyway, let's move on though to another fighter. Back up to the top tier, and we've got Kevin Holland. This dude's got a granite chin. Like, he's got the crackhead chin. I can't lie, bro. The amount of shots this guy was taking off MVP, Wonderboy. This guy fought fucking Thiago Santos. Who's he fought? He's fought so many. JDM. This guy fights power punches. It's not like he's always just getting, like, yes, the grappling is his weakness, but it's not like he's just getting out grappled in all these fights. Like, we're seeing this dude stand and take bombs off guys who put people out. Like, Wonderboy's not a massive puncher with his hands, but he was fucking wheel kicking Kevin Holland in the face and head kicking him in the fucking chin, and Holland's just taking it. He got kind of dropped off balance, and he also kind of got dropped by Mikhail Lukashchuk upper weight class, but apart from that, like, this dude's chin has proved to be one of the best in the sport. So yeah, the amount of shots this guy was taking clean off MVP, again, not the most powerful puncher, but still, he was getting hit clean and he's just eating them. So yeah, Holland, you won't see too many TKO losses or KO losses on his record unless it's like the injury with the Lidzi or ground and pound, I guess. But yeah, this dude ain't getting finished on the feet anytime soon. Let's move on though to another fighter. Next up, we have Dricus du Plessis. I want to be the first real African champion. I never said the first real African champion. But Dricus has the African chin. And not the soy African chin like a fucking Kennedy's and Chukwu. He has the real African chin. You know, that South African chin. Because this dude takes shots. Yeah, he got carried by fucking Soldich in KSW, whatever it was. But UFC-wise, he ain't really getting hurt that much on the feet. Like, Izzy's hitting him clean. Brunson's tagging him a bit, like Till's tagging him up. Like, he gets stunned, but we're yet to see him get dropped bad. We're yet to see him get real wobbled. This dude takes shots. Like, Cameron Simon, you're not Dricus du Plessis. You don't get to run in like a tard and not think you're going to get chinned by Peyton Talbot. Like, Dricus actually has a chin. You don't. Know your place, little buddy. But du Plessis, I keep watching that fight back and finding it funny. Like, just because you're training with the champion of the middleweight division doesn't mean you are the fucking champion of the middleweight division. Like, you're a little skinny fucking 20-year-old bantamweight. You're easy to chin. Like, you're fucking anorexic. Like, defend yourself. But Dricus, he's got a much better chin than Cameron Simon. Definitely one of the best in the sport. Let's move on though to another fighter. Next up, we got Belal Muhammad Belial. I'll say he's got a good chin. He did get KO'd by Neil and Luque back in the day, or hurt badly by them. You know, got rocked with that head kick by Leon in the first fight. But apart from that, his chin has proved to be pretty solid. So, you know, Belial, remember the decision? I'll put you in the good chin tier. Let's move on though to another fighter. Down the tier list we go, Vicente Luque. Similar to Wonderboy, I think his chin has kind of dropped off a little bit over time, but more drastically after that KO loss to Jeff Neal. And now it's safe to say Luque has an extremely sus chin. Like, that loss to Joaquin Buckley was just like not a good sign. It's not like he got chinned badly and got laid out cold, but it's like he's not showing the ability to take punishment. That's the thing that with Luke's chin that makes it sus. Anyway, let's move on though to another fighter. Moving on to another fighter with a glass jaw, Cody Garbrandt. Mr. No Chin himself. This dude, you can't be getting KO'd by Pedro Munoz, buddy. Like, that's not a good sign. Kai Gara-France, that's fair enough, but like TJ Dillashaw, I don't know, like, I'm just not liking these KO losses for good old Cody Garbrandt. Now, I think it is a bit overblown, like, this guy's getting KO'd by gusts of wind. Like, for the most part, he's getting hit clean when he's getting KO'd. Like, he's not just getting slapped by glancing fucking shots, and you're like, what is this guy doing? But he gets KO'd badly. That's a thing for sure. He's a good end of the highlight reel, if you want to say that. You know, people go like Justin Gaethje, the human highlight reel. Cody Garbrandt's on the end of the human highlight. Like, he is the reverse human. Like, he's just getting highlight reel. That's his job, which I respect immensely. But still, didn't get dropped by Figgy, so officially has a better chin than Cheeto Vera. Heard it here first. Anyway, let's move on though to another fighter. Back up to the top tier, Marvin Vettori. I don't want to shit on him too much, but this guy should be glad he has a fucking brick for a head, because he would not be anywhere near the rankings if he didn't. Like, the shots this guy took off Cannonier, the shots this guy takes off Whitaker, all these guys that he's fighting, it's nuts that he pretty much, I don't know, I think he has been dropped before, but I don't know who, I forget who by, but Vettori's chin is fucking ridiculous. Like, he's just got a brick for a head. Like, he's just retarded mentally, so it helps. Like, there's not as many brain cells there to damage to, like, knock yourself out, so he's already got nothing in there, so it's pretty easy to take the shots, I imagine. But anyway, let's move on though to another fighter. Next up on the tier list, we got Colby Covington. You know, I hate him as a person. I think he's a scumbag and just a cringe little retard, and I'd beat him up if we ever fought each other. But Colby, I'll give him credit. He can take some shots. You know, if I was to fight Colby, I'd probably crack him a few times. I'd wobble him a couple times, but I reckon he could last to a decision. You know, I respect his chin. So, yeah, Colby, you might be a fucking cringe little retard who has no actual personality and has to rely on Donald Trump to gain fans. And Donald Trump doesn't even like you. But all that aside, he does have a good chin, so I'll give him credit there. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Next up on the tier list, Islam Makhachev. I'll put him in the good tier, not too much to say. I am including all of the male champions here just to show some variety, I guess. But I would say that Islam has a relatively good chin. I can't call him an iron-chinned fighter. You know, he did get dropped by Volk. He did get KO'd by Pantoja earlier in his career. But for the most part, Islam, the chin has held up very well. He's taken shots off Poirier, taken shots off Oliveira. So I can't discredit the chin of Islam Makhachev too much. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Moving on, we have Hobbit Whitaker. Sus chin. I'm sorry, Rob. I love you. You're one of my favorite fighters in terms of, like, style to watch, entertainment value. You're Australian. You know, you're my countryman. I love you. But the chin is suspect. Not because of, like, the Hamza fight. Obviously, that was not a chin issue. That was a, like, jaw issue, I guess. But no, that was just Hamza being very good at grappling. But getting dropped by a fucking jab from Dricus and Izzy in the rematch, getting cracked and put away by Izzy twice, or not twice, but once at the end of the first round, and then in the second round, the first time you fought. I'm not a big fan of Robert Whitaker's chin because it just costs him in a lot of fights. Like, if this dude had a Vettori chin, I'm telling you he's champ. Like, because technique-wise, he's all there. I mean, maybe Hamzat still beats him, but, like, he beats Izzy if he has a better chin, in my opinion. Because he could fight with more aggression, and same with Dricus, in my opinion. He would win that fight if he didn't just get chinned randomly. I know that's like, yeah, I would have fucking won if I didn't lose, but still, Whitaker, he's severely kind of limited by the fact that he doesn't take shots the best. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Next up, Phil Hawes, glass jaw. Dude's not even in the UFC anymore, but every time this guy gets KO'd, it's just brutally. Like, I'm sorry, bro. Bruno Ferreira's just absolutely sleeping you. Roman Dolidze's just absolutely sleeping you. Like, this guy just gets laid out. Every time. If he loses, it's via getting just absolutely fucking brutally KO'd. Like, dead. Not TKO'd. Every time he's out. Like, he's sleeping. Anyway, let's move on, though, to another fighter. Moving back to the top tier, John Jones. I'm not even going to give him credit. I'm just going to put him in the tier list and move on, because, yes, he does have a good chin. I wish he'd been fucking KO'd. You know, any man that beats their wife deserves to be slept out cold, and we would see that if he fought Aspinall, but maybe we won't see that justice brought to reality. But John Jones, I'll give him credit. The chin is pretty solid. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Next up on the tier list, Devilson Figueiredo. Now, maybe I'm overrating his chin based off the Jan fight, because I know Jan is not the biggest power puncher, but Jan fucking cracked this dude, and he took some shots. Like, I think flyweight Figgy, the chin is a bit suspect, because, like, yeah, he did kind of get cracked and dropped a bit or wobbled in the rematch by Moreno, and his chin didn't look amazing at flyweight, but at bantamweight, this dude's chin is pretty fucking solid, and the Jan fight proved to me, even taking good shots off Cheeto. But yeah, that fight proved to me he's pretty high up on this list. Maybe you have him in the good tier, not the iron chin tier, but I think Figgy's chin is very good. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Moving on to another fighter, Israel Adesanya. Dude's got a pretty solid chin. I could have him higher, but, you know, getting dropped by Strickland's just not a great look, and getting wobbled by Dricus. Dricus hits hard, but yeah, I don't think he's like an iron-chinned fighter, like he has been put away, but Izzy still has a pretty solid chin. Anyway, let's move on to another fighter. Next up on the tier list, Charles Oliveira do Bronx. I love him. He's one of my favorite fighters. I'm going to do my favorite fighters video, top 15 favorite fighters at some point soon. But Oliveira's up there, but the one thing costing him, similar to I think a Whitaker, is if this dude had a fucking granite, like if he had a Vettori chin, wallahi he's champion right now. I swear to God, this dude is fucking like a 5-time reigning champion if he has a granite chin. Like, I think he beats, maybe this is Cope. I think if he doesn't get dropped by Islam, I think he can win that fight. Like, if he is not susceptible to getting randomly hurt, I do think he wins. Now, yeah, Arman, yeah, you can say that, but I don't care. He would have beat Arman if it went 5. So that's my Cope for the day. But no, I swear to God, if Oliveira was champ, he would actually if Oliveira had a great chin, he would be champ still, in my opinion. Or maybe he'd just be, like, have a better chance of winning. But I still think he's fucking severely limited by the fact that he can't, like, he does walk into punches regardless, but, like, he can't just walk into punches and take them. Like, he has to reset and get dropped. His recovery is amazing, but his initial kind of reaction to punches, not the best. Anyway, let's move on, though, to another fighter. Back down to the bottom tier, we got Matt Schnell. This is not an overblown thing. Like, his chin is genuinely awful. Like, he's getting KO'd by ground and pound shots. I'm sorry, that's just not acceptable. Matheus Nicolau should not be sleeping you out cold and making me think that he's a good fighter. Like, I picked Nicolau to beat Royval after he KO'd Schnell, because I was like, oh, what? He looked amazing. He KO'd Schnell, but then I failed to realize that KOing Matt Schnell is not an achievement at this stage of his career. So yeah, Schnell, absolutely fucking atrocious glass jaw chin. Pretty sure his wife actually knocked him out with a kiss to the cheek. That is the rumor going around, is what I've been told per sources. Anyway, let's move on, though, to another fighter. Let's speed through some of these ones. Max Holloway, granite chin. I'm not even going to fucking justify it. Like, Ilya KOing you does not mean you have a bad chin. He's still top tier. If he gets KO'd his next fight, I'll move him down. But for now, Holloway, until recently, had absorbed the most strikes by a large margin in the UFC history without getting knocked down. You can say Gaethje dropped him, but nah. Holloway, still a granite chin, in my opinion. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Moving on, we have Kelvin Kattar, an opponent of Max Holloway, and someone who took 445 significant strikes to the dome. Some of them to the body and to the legs, but most of them to the dome, to the fucking noggin, to the chin, to the head. And he did not get dropped. And I know some people said, oh, pillow hands Max. And since then, Max has proved he does not have pillow hands, because this dude's been knocking people out. So, Kelvin Kattar taking that many shots off him, and historically even, he's still been a granite chin fighter, Kattar. He's still not... Who's dropped him? Refresh my memory, chat, or comments. Who's dropped Kelvin Kattar? I actually can't remember. Someone has, I think, but maybe not. Anyway, let's move on, though, to another fighter. Next up on the tier list, Ilya Toptoro. I'll slap the nails off him, but I'll put him in the good chin tier. It's just like he hasn't really taken enough shots and like been hit clean enough for me to be like, okay, yeah, your chin's granite. Like, he's taken some shots, he's been stunned a little bit, he got dropped by Jai Herbert by a head kick, but I can't put him in like granite chin because it's not like we've just seen a whole bunch of Ilya Topuria getting battered. So I don't know, I'm just putting him in here because he's a champion. But if you want to have him higher, sure, I don't mind. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Moving on, we got old man Dariush. At this stage, Dariush's chin is fucking washed. I can't say glass, but it's extremely sus. Like, Arman Sukian, Arman Sakarian is not a fucking power puncher. Like, he's not a one-shot guy and he's sleeping you out cold in a minute. That's rough. I know Oliveira kind of cracked it a little bit, but he does get KO'd before. And it's not like this is a recent thing. Like, Beneil has always had a bit of a sus chin, in my opinion. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Next up, we got Marlon Moraes. What am I saying? Michael Morales. Very similar names, but very different chins, because Marlon Moraes has a fucking glass jaw. This guy can't take shots. I think he ended his career on like a 9-fight TKO loss streak or some bullshit like that. He even went to PFL and kept getting chinned over there. Like, that's when you know you're cooked. When you dip from the UFC because you just can't win fights, and then you go to PFL and you're still getting laid out. That's rough. Anyway, let's move on though, back up to the top tier. Back up to the top tier we go, and we got Chito Vera again, not one that requires explanation. This dude took a fucking flush near the... Who eats that shot? Who eats that shot? That's Chito Vera's chin. It's insane. People forget, man. This dude just takes shots. He takes punishment and he fucking eats it. He's got the Ecuadorian chin, bro. He's got the South American chin. Some of those guys down there have some fucking ridiculous chins. Like, the non-Brazilian South American... Some of the Brazilians have great chins, but, like, it's like those Argentina, like Esteban Rivovic, or Peru, like James... Or is it Peru or Bolivia? Or something like James... Or Bolivia, like Jose Medina. Peru, like James Lontop. Those fucking South America, Latin America countries have some retarded chins on them. And Chito Vera is one of them. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Next up on the list, we got Pedro Munoz. Now, yes, this dude, I think now with Holloway losing to Ilya, and I think they did technically count a knockdown for Figgy against Chito, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe they didn't. But if not, I think Pedro Munoz might now be number one for most strikes absorbed without a knockdown. Maybe. Don't quote me on that. It could be Jones. But Munoz has a great chin. But I just don't know if he's fought the same level of power punches. And yeah, he did get kind of rocked by Garbrandt and then got saved because Garbrandt just started being retarded. So yes, on paper... But I think a lot of those shots are kind of just range fucking jabs and shit. Because most people that beat Pedro Munoz, they do it via staying at range and just kind of having their way with like jabs and low kicks and shit. So maybe those numbers are a bit inflated, but still, Munoz does have a great chin. Let's move on though to another fighter. Moving down the list, we got another champion, Marat Davashvili, fucking Marab Dashevashvili, as Chael Sonnen would say. This dude's chin is solid. Like, it can be considered a bit sus because of, like, yeah, he did get cracked by Cejudo and Moraes and shit, but O'Malley wasn't able to really have this guy rocked at all in their fight. So as far as I'm concerned, that puts you in a solid chin category. Jan really wasn't able to get much going on him. Aldo, none of these guys are really able to rock him too much. Cejudo and Moraes are the only ones to do it. So I'll put him in good chin tier for now. We'll see what happens in his coming fights. Like if he gets slept or something, bump him maybe down to sus tier. But yeah, for now, I'll have Marat in this tier. Let's move on though to another fighter. Another fighter with a sus chin, in my opinion, fighting this weekend is Ian Gary. Now, maybe I'm underrating this guy's chin, but I don't like you getting KO'd by Song Kanan. Or not KO'd, but dropped, sorry. Now, apart from that, I don't really have too much reason, but I don't know, just how tentative he fought against fucking Jeff Neal. MVP was cracking him. Yes, he has held up to some shots, but I don't like you getting dropped by my local hibachi grill owner who sells me fucking 12 dumplings for $9.99. Like, I'm just not a fan of... I'm not a fan of that fucking... I'm not a fan of you getting dropped by that dude, Song Kanan, who just got wheel kick KO'd. Now, yes, he did beat him up for the rest of the fight. This is not me saying Ian Gary's not skilled, but this is just me saying his chin is a little bit suspect. We'll see what happens this weekend, though. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Moving on to another fighter with a glass jaw, Dominic Reyes. Again, another guy fighting this weekend, and you just can't be getting KO'd by jabs. Look, spinning elbows, I'll accept. You know, Jan Blachowicz, big meaty hooks, I'll accept, but I'm not trying to see Ryan Spann sleep you with a jab. That's my opinion. Now, maybe Reyes's chin lacking is overblown because yes, he got spinning elbowed by Yuri, in a fight where he did take a lot of shots and Blachowicz laid him out. But again, the jab KO against Ryan Spann is just to me being yeah, your chin's cooked. You're a light heavyweight. There's no excuse. You're a big dude. You're getting hit by big dudes, but other big dudes take big dudes shots. Fucking pause. What the mega ditty. But yeah, anyway, let's move on away from that fucking statement to the next fighter. Final stretch here with the last 5 guys. Drew Dober, though, is going to go into that top tier of granite chin territory. No debating it. Apart from that KO loss to Frivola, which he was almost recovered there. And I think if the ref had let him go 5 more seconds, I think he gets himself back into that fight. But Gene Silva was hammering this dude, and he's just been chilling. Like, he's been rocked, but he ain't really getting KO'd and dropped badly by many people. He gets cracked and he just eats it. Fire hydrant of a fucking chin. Pure Aryan race fucking Weimar Republic chin for Drew Dober. Anyway, let's move on though to another fighter. Next fighter that we have to talk about, Shavkat Rakhmonov, also fighting this weekend. I don't know, just the shots he took off Jeff Neal were pretty crazy. Now, yeah, he got cracked by Neal, but Neal is a fucking hitter. Like, Neal cracks, and he took shots off Neal, walked through him, he gets hit, and he hasn't really looked in trouble that much in the UFC so far. So Shavkat, I'll chuck him in the iron chin territory. If he gets KO'd by Ian Gary, though, you're plummeting down the list. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Next up on the list, BSD Benoit Saint-Denis. I'll chuck him in good chin, because before the Poirier fight, I actually would have had him higher, because this guy got an absolute battering from EDS, Easy D, and he didn't get dropped, which is nuts to say, but Poirier fucking put him out, so I'll bump him down a spot. But this guy was in like iron/granite chin territory before he got KO'd to Poirier. Let's move on though to another fighter. Next up on the list, we got T Ferg. I'll just put him in sus tier and move on, because yeah, the chin's not good at this point, but let's not go down the path of depression. Moving on though to the final fighter that goes in the glass jaw tier, and it is, last up, Luke Rockhold. I had to dig back to some former UFC fighters because I couldn't really think of that many active ones that have no chin. Maybe I had to just venture outside the rankings and not be a casual, but in terms of a well-known established name of the sport who is now retired, I am retired from this game, but to be honest with you, this guy Luke Rockhold is a fucking glass jaw bomb and a rat, and I'd fucking spark him unconscious. Luke Rockhold, you cannot be getting KO'd by Michael Bisping. I'm gonna leave it at that. You can't be getting slept by oh my word, buddy. Where the fuck's your belt, mate? Michael Bisping, excuse the awful impression, this is 3 a.m. recording. But anyway, normally, you guys know the impressions are always better normally, but just that one might not have been the best. But anyway, oh my word. Let's move on though before I just fucking fall asleep while recording. That'll be it, guys. Another tier list for you guys here. Just under 30 minutes with over 30 fighters to discuss, so I kept it short for some of them, but I do venture into the yap of the yapity at moments. But yeah, also, did you know about Carlos Prates, guys? I'd put him in the S tier as well, elite chin. Someone commented saying, like, is bro just going to include Prates in every one of his tier lists from now on? Like, it's not a bad idea. I could do it. Anyway, that'll do it though, guys. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. What other video ideas you guys want to see? I'm going to do 310 predictions tomorrow for my boy Pantoja. I worked so hard for these, you guys. But yeah, that'll do it, guys. Peace out. Goodbye. Arrivederci.